defensive back, mind you. He hit 4 interceptions today. The big difference in the game was that secondary and the pressure. And I also would say it was C.J. Stroud's legs. I think in the second half he extended some plays, brought some big first downs, and certainly Joe Mixon was able to finish it off.
If there was one thing I learned watching the game today, Coach saying it, run the daggone ball time after time. And when you have good defense, Joe Mixon in that second half, 20 touches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. That kind of sealed the deal off of all of those takeaways, and he showed out.
Yeah, and when you're in the playoffs, it comes down to momentum changes in the game. That game changed on the muff snap by C.J. Stroud and the big completion. Before that, C.J. Stroud, 9 of 16, 83 yards and an interception. After that, 13 of 17, 199, and a touchdown. We said to it coming in, right? We felt like you can hang your hat on the Houston Texans playing good defense. You can hang your hat on them running the football effectively with Joe Milton. What had been inconsistent for them the entire year was the passing game. They showed up today. They made plays. Credit to them. On the opposite side, the Chargers, the inability to throw the football early in that game, getting away from the run, going to the play action too much early, missed opportunities. Tough day if you're the Chargers.
You know, I go back to that first quarter. It was a 3rd and 1. They could not make the 3rd and 1. They sat there and settled for a field goal. And I thought 2 field goals were in that game. That defense from Houston, obviously in the back end, it was the picks, but they stopped the run today. It made the L.A. Chargers one-dimensional. When you can do that as a football team defensively, that just makes it so much easier on your side.
And there's got to.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. I'm going to make multiple videos. This video will be more centered around the Texans because I want to be able to give each team like their full focus. This game was wild. I can't wait to hear what what Texans fans feel about this game. Because the way how this game started to unfold, this is not what you thought this score would be. I felt that, out the gate, the Texans were completely disconnected. They already looked defeated, honestly. Like, before the season started, I kept saying, hey, the Texans, they're making moves. They can look like the Philadelphia Eagles in 22. And you want to look like the Eagles in 22 and not 23. And then the way how this playoff game was unfolding, I'm like, man, they're going to look like they're the Philadelphia Eagles of 23, not 22. And, and it was frustrating to watch, and it looked like Nico was kind of disconnected, and CJ, and it just wasn't going for them. Just not a connected offense, and that's the thing. That was the thing about how this game unfolded. It was like all the big plays, all the big opportunities were the players themselves. It was Mixon. It was C.J. Stroud. It was Nico. And yeah, the defense obviously stepped up as well. But it was all the more off the script type stuff. Any of the times that they tried to be intentional on offense, the Houston Texans, it didn't go too well. When they were having successes, when they were being unintentional. And it was just like, hey man, we just got a ball. We just got a game. And that's both exciting and frustrating. It's exciting to have the players to be able to do that. But then frustrating that when you're actually trying to be intentional and go with the game plan, you fail. Like, things go bad. And again, you had 3 turnovers. And normally, if you have 3 turnovers in a playoff game, it's over. It's done. You had 3 turnovers and 9 penalties. It's like, yeah, you don't got no chance of winning. Better luck next year. So the fact that they were able to pull that off is really awesome. But my whole mind goes to, I think big picture. I think the Texans, going into this season, the expectations were never about just getting to the playoffs or just winning a playoff game, right? From my viewpoint, it was like, get to an AFC championship game. And so I see a game like this and I go, okay, they won this game. Did they play their best ball? Absolutely not. Did their defense step up? Absolutely. What they did best defensively was take advantage of the mistakes of the Chargers and that offense. I mean, they completely stopped the run. They made the run pretty much non-existent. They rushed for 50 yards total. I mean, again, you stop a team from rushing, 50 yards, or you're, more than 50. It's like your chances of winning just goes through the roof. And Justin Herbert was attacked and pressured. Unfortunately, we don't have the stats just yet for total pressures. Obviously, we have sacks and stuff, but I can't wait for those stats to be released because, he was just under duress the entire game. Non-stop. But then there were some, gifts that were given to the Houston Texans, and that can't be denied. Multiple receivers dropping like wide open balls, leading to interceptions, taking away first downs in the red zone, which would have most likely led to a touchdown. Like, and again, though, credit to the Houston Texans, though, to actually take advantage of that, to actually pounce on that. What do the great teams do? They minimize their own mistakes and they take advantage of the mistakes of the other teams. Because I was prepared to say the same thing for the Chargers. If the Chargers ended up winning this game, I would say you can't drop those balls. You can't have these tipped interceptions. If that happens, you're not going to win in the next round. You're not going to beat the Chiefs. You got to play perfect ball to beat the Chiefs. And that's what I'm now saying about the Texans. That's why my mind goes to the next game. It's like, can you play this way and beat the Chiefs? I think absolutely positively not. So it's just like, it's awesome that you got the win, but you have to play better. You gotta play better ball. And I know that might not be the most welcoming thing to hear after you get a playoff win, but it's like, again, my mind goes to, you're trying to get to the next round now. We're already on to the next game, and you will most likely play the Chiefs unless you have unless we have a couple other upsets, which could obviously be possible. But if things are supposed to unfold how they're supposed to unfold, the Bills beat the Broncos and the Steelers lose to the Ravens, then you will play the Chiefs. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, then everything kind of changes. Because then if you are in a position to maybe play the Bills, then I think like that changes. But I do think when you're playing the Chiefs, their brand of special is minimizing their own mistakes and just waiting for the other team to make mistakes. And so again, you have 3 turnovers. That's a real thing. You're just not. I just don't see this team winning a Super Bowl turning the ball over 3 times. So it's just like, okay, so how do we get there? How do we play better, higher quality football? How do we not put ourselves in this situation? How do we not rely on the other team to make mistakes in order for us to come away with the wins? And how do we not come out so lethargic in the beginning? I mean, this was the playoffs, and the first quarter, I mean, like, they were already giving up. I mean, seriously, like, and again, the fact that the Texans ended up winning this game, it changes the feeling of it. But that's why I love to take notes, because it's so important to remember, how did you feel at the end of the first quarter? I mean, at the end of the first quarter, they lined up and they didn't even try to draw the Chargers off sides. And it's like, like, what are you doing? It was 4th down, like, run to the line, have the crowd go crazy, like, try to get the Chargers to jump, and they didn't do that. That's what I'm saying. Like, they didn't have the energy. They didn't have the excitement. They eventually got it, and then look what happened. They go up 32-12. But make no mistake about it, if the Chargers played better ball in the beginning of the game, that's not what the score is. And everything changes. And again, you have the fumbled snap, or whatever we want to define that as. Like, there was a lot of heroics that if they didn't go the Texans' way, this game completely unravels. And then I would be making a video about saying, man, the Texans just weren't ready to play. They didn't show up. It didn't seem like they cared. They gave up, etc., etc., etc. But because of the way how things unfolded, it flips that narrative on its head. But I think it's still really, really important to acknowledge that. To acknowledge that, because again, in no world do I see that the Texans could play like this and win a Super Bowl or beat the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's why I kind of keep repeating. It's like, okay, so then what needs to change? Why was the offense kind of so slow to get going? Why was there no one for CJ to kind of work the ball to? Why were there one too many hero shots in the beginning of the game? Why wasn't the run game, why weren't you leaning on the run game? Why were you trying to rely on trickery when you had some momentum? You're relying on trickery and then you get a fumble. Like, it's just like, it's just, you kind of have to unpack that. You did little things like fair catch interference. And then even after the fumble from Mixon, you then have the 15-yard penalty, or I think that was after the interception. I forget. I would have to look at my notes. Yeah, the interception in the end zone, right? That ended up being not an interception, but it obviously could have been an interception. It's just, you got to play higher quality ball. You got to play ball like you are the veterans now, that you have been there. That is now your 3rd playoff experience, and for some of them even more than that. Obviously Mixon has been to a Super Bowl, so you got to keep your head on straight. You got to stay focused. I loved watching CJ Stroud use his legs. That's huge. That's massive. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to unpack this game more. I just wanted to kind of get quick thoughts out for all of these games post game, and then I got to jump and quickly watch the next game If you're watching this, I'm literally recording it immediately after and trying to just run through it so then I can watch the Steelers Ravens game, and I still have to do the Chargers video as well. But yeah, it's always tough to do to kind of react to these games immediately after, because I really like to kind of think about it, reflect on it, listen to what other people have to say, have other conversations in the comments, digest it, and then unpack it more. And so it's like I'm still processing this game, but then I immediately jump on here and try to react right away. And that's why, if anything, this video is probably a little all over the place, because that's how this game felt for me. If I'm looking at it through the Texans' eyes, I'm like, oh my God, this is so ugly. This is terrible football. Okay, wow, this is really great football. Good job. Okay, great. They took advantage of this. They were able to carry the momentum there. And it's just like, I just want to relay kind of everything I saw, the good, the bad, the ugly, and, anything else in between. Because I even wrote, Nico and CJ looked defeated by the third commercial break. And it's true. They really did. But the fact that they were able to kind of gut through it, rely on their defense to kind of weather the storm and weather the offensive lackluster, and then be able to kind of build off of that, I still think is really awesome. And I still think it gives you a lot of optimism going into the next round, whether it be the Bills or the Chiefs, or I guess technically it could potentially not even be the Bills. Technically it could be the Steelers or the Ravens, I guess, technically. So the options of who the Texans face at this point of recording this video are actually many, I suppose. So, it'll be interesting to see who they actually end up facing, and then we'll be able to have like a more serious conversation of what that game looks like. But I'm really curious what Texans fans felt about this game. Were you feeling good from the jump? Were you upset? Were you angry? Were you excited? Do you feel good about this win? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.